Welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, The Hope Project. My name is Jochebed Isaacs, and it's so nice to see you again. Welcome also to this brand new series on building attention skills. As practitioners, many of the families we work with often come to us with these questions. My child finds it difficult to focus and gets distracted easily. Or my child cannot sit still at the table. Or my child is able to pay attention on things he likes, but if you show him a book or a worksheet, he will not focus at all. Or maybe in the age of COVID-19 and online schooling, my son really cannot focus during online school. I have to keep reminding him to sit still and look at the teacher. Do any of these sound familiar to you? The ability to focus or to sit down and do work, stay long enough at the dinner table to finish a meal, and pay attention to a teacher, whether in person or online. These are all skills that require, among others, the skill of attention. Now, by attention here, we don't mean the military version.
Attention!
Funny story, one of our team members years ago actually accidentally did that. Attention! What we mean is actually being able to stay focused and pay attention for increasingly long periods of time. Now, if we recall back to our building blocks of learning, attention is one of the key foundational skills, in addition to motivation, cooperation, and imitation. These must be in place before a child can learn more complex skills like speech, play, and academics. Not only that, attention continues to be important from childhood all the way to adulthood. As children, we need to pay attention when a teacher is teaching. And by this, I mean not just sitting still, but looking at the teacher as well as understanding what they're saying. Children also need to pay attention to play with their toys long enough without running off. As adults, we need to be able to pay attention in conversations, in meetings, or just to get work completed. Hey, even now, you're needing to focus and pay attention to what I'm talking about. Hence, the skill of attention is developed from a young age and increases as we grow older. So why is attention so difficult for children with autism? Firstly, they may still not yet have the strong levels of motivation and cooperation necessary to be willing to sit and attend to something. Secondly, children with autism are more likely to engage in self-stimulatory or stimming behaviors. If a child is participating in self-stimulatory behavior or perseverating on other fixated interests, this makes it challenging for the child to be able to focus on a specific task or conversation. Oftentimes as well, we've actually seen our kiddos start to stim when they are presented with a task that they're not motivated or even find difficult. In other words, they're demonstrating task avoidance. Now, since we're on the topic of attention, we can't help but touch on another developmental condition that includes challenges with attention, a condition that's often confused with autism, ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Now, although autism and ADHD share similarities in that a child with autism might also have difficulties with attention, what makes children with ADHD different is that they do not typically show the social, behavioral, and language difficulties that children with autism do demonstrate. If you have concerns that your child has symptoms of ADHD, maybe even in addition to autism, please seek professional advice on this. For this series, we will focus on the absolute foundational programs that help children with autism build attention. Namely, these are programs called matching, file folders, which is sort of an advanced version of matching, sorting, like sorting clothes and cutlery, puzzles, and additional attention tasks. We will also end off with a lesson troubleshooting the most common challenges that come up with teaching attention. However, we won't be covering the more advanced attention skills, typically children of school-going age are expected to have, such as paying attention to a teacher in the classroom. Because these skills are so advanced, we will look at them instead in a future series, likely in preparing for school. However, the lessons in this series will act as a crucial foundation towards that future series. Before getting started on teaching attention, we first need to understand the developmental milestones of attention. We need to know what a reasonable attention span for a child is, depending on their age, because that will be the goal that we work towards. For example, we would expect a 2-year-old to have a much shorter attention span than an adult. But how short is too short and how long is too long? How do we know when our child has an attention span appropriate for their age? Thanks to our team's research, we can provide you the breakdown by developmental milestones. From birth to 1-year-old, a baby's attention is fleeting. They'll flit from one thing to another and get easily distracted by new events like a loud noise. From 1 to 2 years old, they have rigid attention. They can focus, but on a task of their own choosing. This means they may ignore other things that actually need to switch attention to, like when an adult is calling them. By 2, attention ranges between 4 to 6 minutes. From 2 to 3 years old, children have single-channeled attention. This means while they are still focused on only one activity at a time, they can shift attention to an adult if needed, but with some help from the adult. For example, if the adult says, "Look at this," and shows them a cool toy. From 3 to 4 years old, children start to have focused attention. They start to control where their focus goes. They can still only focus on one thing at a time, but can switch between their toy and the adult if need be. By 4, attention on one activity ranges from 8 to 12 minutes. From 4 to 5 years old, a child has 2-channeled attention, where they can focus on the activity while listening to someone speaking to them without needing to stop and look at the speaker. Finally, assuming a child has been following typical child development, by 5 to 6 years, they have integrated attention. Their 2-channeled attention skills are stronger and can be implemented in different situations. They can shut out unwanted stimuli and concentrate on only what they need to at any given time. By 6, attention ranges between 12 to 18 minutes. Of course, remember these are just guidelines. How long a child spends on a task also depends on other distractions, like how noisy the environment is, how hungry they are, or how interesting the activity is. A cause for concern is if you notice your child's attention span is much shorter than average for their age.
Pop quiz. Which of the below is not a reason why attention is important? So a child can understand maths lesson? So an adult can drive safely on the road? So a child is willing to do work at the table? Or so a child can keep up with their friends in a game? The answer is C. For a child to be able to do work at a table, they need to have motivation and cooperation. Once they're willing to, then the skill of attention is what enables them to focus long enough to actually get the work done. Michael is playing with his blocks when his father calls his name. He doesn't seem to hear, so his father has to squat down in front of him and say his name clearly before Michael looks at him. What stage of attention is Michael at? Fleeting attention, single-channeled attention, focused attention, or 2-channeled attention? Most likely, Michael is at single-channeled attention. He needed a little help from Dad to switch focus. Lisa is doing a coloring book when her mom calls from the kitchen that it's almost bath time. Lisa calls back, "Okay," while keeping her eyes on her coloring book. What stage of attention is Lisa at? Rigid attention, single-channeled attention, focused attention, or 2-channeled attention? Lisa was able to focus when Mom was speaking to her without needing to pause her coloring. So most likely she has 2-channeled attention, D.
So now that we know more about the developmental milestones of attention, it's your turn. Observe your child at natural points throughout the day. When they're playing, when you're working with them, at meal times, use a timer to estimate how long they spend on an activity before losing focus. Signs they are losing focus include when they attempt to leave or switch to another task. Find the average for your child's attention span. This might follow the developmental milestones of attention, or it might not. That's okay. This series is about building attention anyways. So find out where your child's maximum attention span is, and we will use this as a basis for building further attention to age-appropriate levels. So stay tuned for the next lesson where we begin with basic attention tasks. If you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has the corresponding articles and downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.